I've been married to Qingzhou for 8 years, but he still can't forget his precious, white moonlight. He is tired of me, disgusted with me, and thinks I am dull and vulgar. When it comes to things like cooking porridge and making soup, I have no ambition and just hang around the stove. Bai Yueguang washed her hands and cooked a bowl of soup, but she was gentle, considerate, and understanding. Later, after I wrote the divorce letter, Qingzhou traveled thousands of miles to Jiangling to ask me for a bowl of jujube paste porridge. I smiled and told him, Jiangling doesn't produce jujubes, and I haven't cooked them for many years. I have completely forgotten how to make them. 1. I divorced Qingzhou in the 8th year of our marriage. When Qingzhou proposed divorce, everyone in the family was shocked. Qingzhou and I have been at odds for a long time, so they were not shocked by the divorce itself, but only by the timing of my proposal for divorce.
It was a calm day.
In the morning, I went to pay my respects to my mother-in-law as usual and served her 2 cups of tea. At noon, I went to the shop outside to select and order 50 boxes of cakes in preparation for visiting relatives during the Dragon Boat Festival. Even after waking up from a nap, I didn't like the pattern on the screen, so I repainted a new pattern with my own hands. Everything is planned for the long-term future, and there is no sign of it being over the top. But in the evening, after I had taken a shower and was getting ready to go to bed, I calmly asked for a divorce from Qingzhou before I had time to wipe my wet hair. There was no sign at all. In the eyes of the world, even if I divorced Qingzhou, it should have been before. I had 3 good opportunities. The first time was when Qingzhou was demoted to Songshan County to work as a clerk. He was a minor official in a remote and poor area. I accompanied Qingzhou from Qingzhou, traveling thousands of miles to take up the post, and suffered a lot of fatigue from the journey. The moths in Songshan are as big as a palm, and their wings have human face patterns with 2 eyes. They cover the edge of the well in layers. A bucket is thrown in, and then pulled up. There is half a bucket of water, half a bucket of mud, and the startled big moths floating on the water, with a layer of fluorescent white powder floating on their wings, which is extremely disgusting. At that time, I hated the heavens and the earth. I hated the enemy's army for not reaching Songshan. I hated Qingzhou for running to this damn place to be an official. I hated the sun in Songshan, hated the moon setting in Songshan, hated the long mountains and rivers, and I only thought of my parents far away. The only thing is that I never thought of getting divorced and returning to Qingzhou to be Miss Su again happily. The second chance was when his mother-in-law sent 2 maids to be his concubines. When I married Qingzhou, I was considered to be marrying down, and our 2 families had agreed that he would not take concubines in his life. But nothing in this world remains unchanged. That was the 4th year I had been married to Qingzhou, and I had been childless for 4 years. Countless doctors had examined me, but they only said that I had a cold constitution and it would be difficult for me to get pregnant. I drank piles of bitter medicine, and in the end, the tears I choked on smelled as bad as Coptis. Not to mention that Qingzhou was unwilling to step into my room and sleep with me. Even I felt very disgusted when I woke up every day and smelled the smell on my body. By that time, Qingzhou had already crawled out of the gloomy and haunted place of Songshan. He stood on the right side in the struggle for the throne, and when the new emperor ascended the throne, he appointed him as the Suzhou weaving supervisor. At this point, the Qin family can be said to have come back to life, and the family is on the verge of prosperity, but there are few offspring. The mother-in-law appointed 2 maids to Qingzhou. My mother-in-law came to talk to me. Her words were earnest, and she choked up several times. She said that it was not that the Qin family was no longer the same as it was in the past, and therefore they had to break their promise, but that the offspring was too important to the family. My father-in-law was a living example. He was the only one in the Qin family. If he had had a few more brothers to help him, they wouldn't have fallen apart. My mother-in-law advised me that since I was a wife of the Qin family, I and the Qin family would rise and fall together. Having 2 concubines was not considered as taking concubines if you looked into it carefully. Almost every son of aristocratic family had one, and it was not the first time for me. So I just endured it and allowed him to have 2 concubines. The third chance for divorce was when Shen Xian welcomed Li Muyao, his white moonlight whom he had not forgotten for many years, into his home. Li Muyao, Li Muyao. I have been married to Shen Xian for 8 years. I have known this girl for 8 years from other people's words. That was 8 years ago, when the old man of the Shen family had not yet fallen. They are childhood sweethearts, well matched, and have no suspicion of each other. Fate was cruel to Shen Xian. When they were about to discuss marriage, a family change happened and cold rain knocked on the window. The night is long, separation is painful, the mumbling in the dream is hard to forget even if I don't think about it. Fate was kind to Shen Xian again. He became successful and famous, but his childhood sweetheart was still the same childhood sweetheart, and the moonlight was still the same moonlight. But after many twists and turns, this time it was the beautiful woman who suffered. He was transferred back to Beijing, and under the hibiscus tree and on the Bluestone Bridge, he ran into Li Muyao, who was tortured beyond recognition in the backyard. It seemed as if all the hardships and trials over the years were just for this moment, when he had the power in his hands and could hold the 12-bone oil paper umbrella to protect his beloved. I knew that Shen Xian had been in love with Li Muyao for many years, so I had no objection when he wanted to welcome her into the family. If opposition is useless, why bother to oppose? After all, I always have some fantasies about Shen Xian. My family is well known in Qingzhou city. The Su family has been butchers for 3 generations, and the craft was passed down to my father, who also relied on slaughtering pigs and selling meat to support me and my mother. When I was 8 or 9 years old, after my father slaughtered a pig, he saw me squatting beside it with a large basin to collect the pig's blood. He finally remembered that I was a girl. A girl probably doesn't have the strength to hold down a pig and then kill it. If she does, it seems that she is too aggressive and it will be difficult for her to get married in the future. My father thought in despair that the Su family's ancestral craft would probably be lost if it were passed down to him. In despair, my father thought again, since it is destined to be lost, it will be lost if he works until he is old and can no longer do it, and it will be lost if he works until today. Since it will be lost sooner or later, it is better to find a new way as soon as possible. So, my father changed his career and went into business. He started out as a sailor, and after saving some money, he returned to Qingzhou and opened a restaurant. By the time the Shen family was demoted and came to Qingzhou in poverty, my family's Yupingxian had already become the largest restaurant in the city. I have been following the burly butcher uncles since I was a child. Later, I went to restaurants and met many drunkards. When I saw Shen Xian, dressed in blue and with a temperament as graceful as a pine tree, it was as if he was an immortal descending to earth. Even his blue shirt had been washed to a pale color. At that time, the Shun mansion, a century-old family, was so poor that it only had a plaque left. When Shen Xian was not studying, he set up a stall downstairs of my Yupingxian and earned money by writing letters for people. I go to him every day to write letters home. Handing over a piece of silver, Shen Xian asked me what I was writing about. I smiled and said, "Write to my husband. My dear husband, seeing your letter is like seeing you in person. We have been married for several years, and we are still as loving as ever. I still remember the first time we met, under the crabapple tree, in front of the Yupingxian. My husband was wearing a blue shirt with a bamboo cut on his shoulder. I fell in love with him at first sight and wished I could turn myself into a bamboo and sit in his arms forever. I looked down at the bamboo on Shen Xian's shoulder, swallowed my saliva, and continued, my husband's thin lips are tightly pursed, red like a rose in February. There is a small mole on his nose, shining like a star in the dark night. My husband's phoenix eyes are slightly swept, like a pool of spring water. The spring water is leisurely, one wave after another, and when it reaches my heart, it also floods." The more I spoke, the darker Shen Xian's face became. When he heard the phrase, "there's a flood," Shen Xian finally couldn't stand it anymore, threw the hair in his hand, and said with a dark face, "Miss, please respect yourself." I looked at him with grievance, and was about to cry. "Master Shen, what did I say wrong? If there is anything wrong, please help me polish it. You are clearly saying. Shen Xian was so angry that he was shaking, and I was also scared to tears. Wiping my eyes with a handkerchief, I sobbed and said, I was clearly writing a letter to my husband. I don't know how I have offended you. Hey, Mr. Shin, you are also wearing a black bamboo green dress, exactly the same as my handsome husband. What a coincidence, what a coincidence. Mr. Shin, you have received money, and this letter has not been completed yet. You must not cheat. Later, Shun Xian stopped doing my business. He doesn't do my business, but I want to do his business. Yupingxian is the largest restaurant in Qingzhou City. Both the rice and cloth shops have to give our Su family some face. I took the rice, picked up the cloth, and swayed on the load, and went to knock on Shun Xian's window. Mr. Shin, are you buying rice? He said he didn't want to buy it. I asked again, Sir, are you buying cloth? He said he didn't want to buy it. I smiled and asked, Buy rice and cloth for your wife. Sir, are you buying a wife? Shin Xian didn't open the window, but a head popped out from the next room. The second leader of the Wang family said he wanted to buy it. I smiled and used a carrying pole to hit his head. You want to buy it? I won't sell it. You bastard will die of beauty. Seeing this, you may say that my language is vulgar. This is my dad's fault. My father was very successful in slaughtering pigs in the first few years, but later he was busy opening a restaurant and became obsessed with money. By the time he came to his senses and thought of hiring a groom for me and making me into a lady, it was already too late. I learned to read and write, but the years of holding a large basin to collect pig blood have been deeply ingrained in my bones and blood. Therefore, even after we got married, Shun Xian always disliked me in his heart. I was out chasing Shin Xian, but my father looked down on him. The Shin family was banished to Qingzhou, and no one knew who the higher-ups had offended. Everyone understands this principle. My dad understands, and my dad's opponents understand even better. I am my father's only daughter. If I marry someone unreliable, the Su family will be extinct. So on a dark and windy night, I was knocked unconscious, and Shin Xian was also knocked unconscious. When I woke up again, my Mandarin duck belly band was still hanging on Shin Xian's waist. There is no point in making excuses. I lost my innocence, and I lost it together with Shin Xian. I pressed the corners of my eyes with a handkerchief. Hey, what is this? Later, I married Shin Shuren. The Shin family was poor and couldn't even afford the betrothal gift. I saw that my father's face had turned the color of pig liver with anger, and I could only persuade my father in a gentle voice. You're thinking about Shin Xian, who is that? He has good handwriting, a lot of knowledge, and a graceful demeanor. How could such a person be an ordinary person? Just treat it as a bet. Who knows, maybe in 20 years, Yupingxian will be all over the capital. I bet on Shin Xian, but it did not warm his heart. Now that I think about it, he didn't want this marriage, my family didn't want it, and I was the only one who wanted it. The real barber is too enthusiastic. With such a beginning, how can we have a good ending? Shin Xian and I got married because of someone's scheme. Although I didn't scheme against him, it was because I liked him first, and then we got married. I have always felt guilty towards him. During these years of marriage, he was quite cold to me, but I always greeted him with a smile. If there was any grievance, it would be gone after a good night's sleep. I always think that I owe him. Maybe if you just be patient, it will pass. Maybe if you just wait a little longer, things will get better. The ant at the entrance of the village told me, as long as you live your life like a man, even if a girl falls from the sky, it is he who cannot live without you, not you who cannot live without him. I think so, and I do so. However, things always go against one's wishes. After going around in circles, I am still the only one who is too enthusiastic. The day Shin Xian and I filed for divorce, everything was calm. I went to the small kitchen to stew a pot of date paste porridge. When I passed by Shin Xian's study, I happened to see Li Muyao inside. She made him a stack of peach blossom cakes. Shin Xian praised her for her dexterity. Looking back on the past, Li Muyao was spoiled beyond measure by her family and was unwilling to peel even a single peanut by herself. But now that she is married, she has become virtuous and considerate. I overheard something in the corner of my ear, and when I went back to take a shower, I remembered another little thing. At that time, Xian was depressed and frustrated and was bullied by the magistrate of Songshan County. I saw him getting thinner and thinner, and he found various ways to climb trees to steal bird eggs. I fell and got bruised all over just to feed him and make him plump and white. I chatted with an aunt from the village and heard a lot of interesting stories, so I wanted to come back and make him laugh. He ate bird eggs and frowned as he said to me, "You are obviously an educated person, but why do you only know how to hang around the stove?" I think of those village women who are so vulgar. I should respect myself and have less contact with them. It's obvious that Li Muyao and I are both cooking. The so-called heartbreaking. It's not that you are a white rose, but your husband falls in love with a cluster of pomegranate red, which is completely different from you. But your husband found a branch of camellia covered with spring dew. You are 90% similar and do the same thing, but your husband wants her instead of you, showing obvious favoritism. This is called destroying the heart. So I didn't even have time to dry my hair before I found Xian and wrote a divorce letter in front of him. My last words to him were, "Xian, I have fed you too much over the years." 02. Xian has been an official for many years and is very careful about his reputation. He is not willing to divorce his wife easily, and now I am asking for a divorce. We have been married for many years, and finally there is something that we can agree on. I just didn't expect that the people who were most sad about my divorce from Xian would be his two concubines. One was called Juqing and the other was called Lanxiang, and both were crying. They said, "I'm afraid we won't be able to find another mistress as tolerant as you. We only regret that we have children to take care of. Otherwise, we would definitely go with Sister Meow Meow." I laughed dryly. "Don't mock me like that. I'm actually the most intolerant person." The Su family was wealthy and brought a generous dowry. Among them, 2 sets of head ornaments are the best. The jadeite one is given to Juqing, and the gemstone one is given to Lanxiang. I packed up the rest overnight, and at dawn the next day, I left the Xin family with the 3 carriages. I came here with my family, and now I am leaving alone. The city gate turned into a small black behind him. The horse's hooves splashed yellow sand, and the wind and sand blinded his eyes. He rubbed it twice, and even the small black that could no longer be seen. Qingzhou City, after several years. Yupingxian is still the same Yupingxian, but the young man setting up the stall and writing letters home downstairs is no longer there. My father was dark and fat, with a watermelon belly. He was waiting in front of the building early in the morning, holding a box of bean candy that I loved to eat when I was a child. Most loyal people are butchers, and most unfaithful people are scholars. I told you long ago that Xian is not a good man. It's good that he's back now. He held me all the way up to the 2nd floor, pushed open a small window, and exclaimed, "Look, the kingdom your father built for you." Looking up, I saw a constant stream of people on the sidewalk. A few naughty kids were playing around. The hawkers' calls were heard one after another, and the scent of gardenias from the rouge shop wafted in the wind, making my nose itchy. Dad asked expectantly, "How is it?" "It's very lively." "What else?" "Very fireworks-like." Dad slapped me hard on the head. "Silly girl, this street belongs to us, the Su family. Your father has raised you his whole life." Looking back to the time when I first got married, I once comforted my father, saying that if I married Xian, Yupingxian restaurants would be opened all over Shangjing City. Later, Xian was in power, and there were too many people who wanted to curry favor with him, but he was worried that he couldn't find a way. In order to avoid suspicion, he had to give up the idea of opening a restaurant. I didn't expect that my father had earned a living without saying anything. While I was touched, I also felt a little sad. Yupingxian never opened in Shangjing City after all. If you calculate carefully, you have lost 8 years of your youth and 2 sets of headgear. I pressed the corners of my eyes with a handkerchief. Hey, what is this? Being the eldest daughter of the Su family again, there are only 3 things to do every day: eat, play, sleep. My father complained that Xian made me too thin. I haven't been held in the palm of someone's hand for many years, so I'll be obedient this time. Eat happily, play happily, and sleep happily. 2 months passed like this, and I finally came back to life. I loosened my fat belt and went to look for my dad, fanning myself with a cool fan. Ypingxian was still packed with guests, but this day was particularly lively. From a distance, there was a group of people gathered outside the door. Two people in black clothes were particularly eye-catching. One was called a Da, and the other was called a Air. Both were Ypingxian's thugs. They would not come out easily unless there were customers causing trouble. Ada was tall and saw me first. He rushed forward and covered everything on the ground behind him. "They are all dirty stuff. Please don't look at them, young lady." But there was clearly a drunk lying on the ground and two half-dead geese. How could Ada, alone, cover them up? This person came to Ypingxian to propose marriage. As for the person to marry, I lifted my skirt slightly and stepped over the drunk. Ugh, it hurts my feet so much, what a sin. In the backyard room, teacups were scattered all over the floor, and my father was jumping up and down in anger. After I divorced and returned home, matchmakers proposing marriage have almost broken down the door of the Su family, and now they have even come to Ypingxian to make trouble. Marrying a second wife is not a respectable thing, but I am so popular. The reason is that the Su family is wealthy and powerful, and they only have one daughter. This only daughter has not given birth for 8 years. If she gets married again, it is unlikely that she will have children. However, Ypingxian must have an heir. By then, if he takes in a few concubines and gives birth to a few children, and if he owns Ypingxian and the entire street, won't the new son-in-law have the final say? The abacus beads that were about to explode almost jumped onto my face. My father's face turned green with rage, and he cursed the evil hearts of people and the cruelty of the world, and asked how any monster dared to dream of his beloved daughter. I patted my father on the back to ease my anger. These little scoundrels are not worth getting angry at. Besides, we are all neighbors. We will see each other sooner or later. There is no need to make such a fuss. This matter is actually very easy to handle. Oh, in fact, my daughter already has a crush on someone. If she has a crush on someone, she will naturally wait for him to marry her. How can she marry again? As for those old friends and uncles, father can naturally reject them politely. When my father heard this, his eyes lit up. He thought carefully for a moment, then smiled and said that I was a mischievous spirit. Within half a month, the whole Qingzhou city knew that the eldest daughter of the Su family, who had just returned from divorce, had found a lover whom she would not marry except him. On the way back to Qingzhou, the young lady accidentally entered a shady shop, but was fortunately rescued by a master. The tall man was 8 feet tall, had a dignified appearance, and extraordinary skills. The eldest lady fell in love with him at first sight and vowed not to marry anyone else. Even if you want to marry someone else, you have to wait until you see the person you love again and fulfill your wish. As for the master's name, we met by chance, and I didn't ask clearly at the moment. I only remember that the master used a sword with a cluster of dark green tassels on the hilt. As for the master's appearance, I only remember a red mole under his eyelashes, sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, and also a small mole on the palm of his right hand. There are many people who use swords among the Jianghu people, but there are few people who have a small mole under their eyelashes and on their palms. In this way, it is not easy to impersonate someone else. Since this expert was able to pass through Qingzhou on business, he would most likely have to pass through Qingzhou on his return trip as well. The young lady has to wait. Wait till I see you again. After the news got out, the endless stream of people proposing marriage to me finally stopped, and I was able to have some peace and quiet, and I could eat some pork elbows every day. 3 or 5 days passed like this, and I had just invited a troupe to perform when I saw Ahi, the gatekeeper, running out of breath, running and shouting. "I found it! I found it!" I gave him one of the teacups on the table and asked, "What did you find?" Ahi swallowed the hot tea, finally took a deep breath, and said happily, "Miss, your savior has been found and has been carried to the door."
Bang!
The elbow of sauce that I brought to my mouth fell. 03. Outside Qingzhou City, there is a river named Song, which flows very fast. That day, a man rushed down from the Tsongshui River and happened to fall into the net bag set up by the old man of the Zhou family to catch fish. Old man Joe untied the net bag and saw that there was a man inside. He was holding a sword tightly. He was 8 feet tall, had a dignified appearance, and had a small mole under his eyelashes and on the palm of his hand. Oh, isn't this the lover of the eldest daughter of the Sioux family? Although there is a little bit of dark green sword tassel missing, it is normal for it to be dispersed for a while since the river is rushing. So this man was carried to the Sioux family's house. I had news about my crush before, but my father was afraid that it wouldn't spread widely enough, so he even secretly bribed local vendors to spread the news privately. By now the news has spread very far. All the aunts and uncles, old friends and uncles, heard that I had finally found the person I loved, and they all tried their best to come and see the excitement. The tea was changed 3 times and ginseng soup was fed 3 bowls, but no one left. The small Sioux family accommodates half of the people of Qingzhou City. Dad seemed to be in a trance. I looked ashen. Our eyes met. Dad's mouth was big enough to fit an egg, and my mouth was also wide open, unable to close for a long time. Dad blinked, meaning what should I do? I also blinked, meaning cool. What my father didn't know was that I actually knew the man lying on the couch. This man's surname is Gu, his given name is Huai, and his courtesy name is Chongfeng. He is 25 years old this year and is from Jiangling. Outside the court, there is the world of martial arts. In the martial arts world, Wanjian Villa is the most respected. This person is the young master of the famous Wanjian Villa. It is said that when he was 17, he passed the imperial examination and became the 3rd place in the imperial examination. But he did not want to be an official. He wrote a letter of resignation in the palace, which made His Majesty furious. Wanjian Villa is very powerful. Although Your Majesty is angry, he can do nothing but let him leave in anger. As to why I know it so well, it's a long story. When I was a wife of the Shin family and lived in Shangjing City, I was also good friends with the eldest princess. The princess searched for handsome men all over the world, and when she couldn't get the one she wanted, she would settle for the next best thing and get a substitute who was almost the same as her. The princess had countless heads of state in her mansion, and the most favored one among them was Li Chongfeng. Since he was the princess' lover, I did not want to look at him too closely. I only remember that there were layers of red curtains hanging down, and the boy's black hair was tied up high, leaving a piece of dark green silk ribbon with intricate patterns moving in the wind. His Highness casually caught the dancing ribbon, wrapped it around his wrist tenderly, and tilted his head back to swallow a glass of sweet wine that Li Chongfeng fed him. She seemed to like him very much, but after Li Chongfeng left, she said to me with great regret, "After all, they are similar in appearance but not in spirit, and only in skin and not in bones. It would be great if Gulang was here." The scene was so erotic that I remembered it for a long time. The dark green silk ribbon that Li Chongfeng used to tie his hair was exactly the same as the one tied on the head of the man in front of him. Obviously, Li Chongfeng is this person's substitute. Who knew it would be such a coincidence that he had a small mole under his eyelashes and on the palm of his hand? Now it is me who knows Gu Huai, but Gu Huai doesn't know me. I am a little worried. I don't know what the young master of Wanjian Villa has in her temper. If she finds out that she has inexplicably become my lover, will she kill me with a sword? But after all, so many elders and villagers are watching, and my father's integrity in business over the years is evident here. I had no choice but to throw myself on Gu Huai and cried loudly and passionately. "My benefactor, how can I live if you die? If you don't wake up, Meow Meow will have no choice but to go with you. On the way to the underworld, I will pledge my life to you. I only hope that we can be husband and wife in the next life." Then, in full view of everyone, this unconscious man with a pale face coughed twice and slowly opened his eyes. Gu Chongfeng probably didn't expect that when he woke up again, he would see such a scene that attracted so much attention. He looked around briefly, and finally, his eyes slowly fell on the head arched on his chest. He asked me, "Who are you?" I wiped away my fresh tears and said, "My benefactor. Don't you remember Meow Meow?" "I don't remember." I couldn't help crying. "Oh no, my benefactor has lost his memory." I sobbed and imperceptibly applied more force to my hands pressing on his chest. At Maple Forest Ferry, outside the Black Wind Inn, benefactor. That's where we met. Gu Changfeng was silent for a moment, probably thinking about it seriously, but he obviously couldn't remember this thing that had never happened. Therefore, his expression gradually became impatient. Get off me. I saw that this man was about to get angry, but half of the people in Qingzhou city were there, so I immediately weighed the pros and cons, closed my eyes, pounced on him, and blocked his mouth. There was a sound of people gasping for air all around. Dad shouted at the right time to clear the scene. Don't look at anything indecent. Don't listen to anything indecent. Fellow villagers, please make way. Let my daughter and my benefactor have some time alone. Please make way, make way. I secretly opened my eyes and found 5 big words clearly written on Gu Changfeng's face. I'm going to kill you. What a sin. I closed my eyes and kissed her deeper. When he opened his eyes again, Gu Changfeng had lost his composure. His blood was rushing to his heart, and he almost fainted from anger. 04. Gu Changfeng was seriously injured. A sword wound pierced through his back and barely avoided his heart. That is to say, the Su family is wealthy and has all kinds of rare medicinal herbs. There is no need to worry about not being able to buy them. The only worry is that he won't be able to swallow them. His wounds were soaked in water, and he lost too much blood, so he developed a high fever that night, and I stayed with him all night. When I woke up again, it was already dawn of the next day. His hand moved and subconsciously reached under the pillow. I understood very well and said, "Your sword has been properly put away, but the scabbard was washed away by the water. I have already asked someone to look for it. If it cannot be found, please draw a picture of it, and I will try to make another one for you. If I don't put it away, I'm afraid he will hit me with his sword." This person just woke up, his health was not good, but he was full of vigor, half leaning on the head of the bed, looking at me calmly. "Who are you?" "My last name is Su Miao Miao. If you really want to ask, then I can be considered your savior." "Well, Old Man Zhou, who rescued you, also counts as your savior. Remember to thank him later." At this time, all the people who were watching the fun in the room had been asked to leave, and for a moment, the room seemed a little deserted. I rubbed my face, which was stiff from staying up all night, walked to the table, opened the lunchbox, took out a bowl of hot golden chicken soup, and started drinking it by myself. I am my father's darling little baby. After staying up all night, I must make up for it. The rich aroma filled the whole house. As I drank it, I slowly explained to him the whole story. I ruined Gu Changfeng's reputation and fabricated a love affair with him, but it actually saved his life. It's clear now. After saying a few words, Gu Changfeng remained silent for a long time, just staring at me thoughtfully. Maybe it's because my chicken soup is too fragrant. I held the bowl guiltily, licked the oily lips, and pointed to the edge. "It's not that I don't want to give it to you, but the doctor who prescribed the medicine for you said that you were seriously injured, so you should eat light food. I specially cooled it down for you." By the window, there was a bowl of plain white porridge. Bamboo shoots and matsutake mushrooms were added to the chicken soup, which made the white porridge look so bland. Gu Changfeng was silent. I smiled awkwardly. "Mr. Gu, if you don't like it, why don't I sing you a little song to go with your meal?" Gu Changfeng smiled and said, "Miss Su, how did you know my last name is Gu?" I have seen your substitute lover in the Princess Royal's residence, and even ate the grapes he peeled." "Not really." "Me. Haha, I guessed." "Does it matter?" Gu Changfeng. "Haha, just asking, it's not important." His injuries were too severe, so he stayed to recuperate. In order to fulfill my lie to the outside world that I would not marry anyone else, I came to see him every day. This lie is very mysterious. Apart from me, my father, and Gu Changfeng, no one else knows it. This creates some problems. As a beautiful young lady, it was impossible for me to be alone with a man for a long time. There were a lot of maids and old women standing outside. From time to time, a doctor came to take my pulse, a servant came to bring me food, and a maid came to clean the house. Gu Changfeng was regulating his breathing 1 second, and a spoonful of porridge was suddenly stuffed into his mouth the next. I looked at him lovingly and said, "I got up before dawn to cook this. Please have a taste, benefactor." Gu Changfeng was taking a nap 1 second, and I jumped into his arms the next. My benefactor, please open your eyes and take a look at Meow Meow. Gu Chongfeng looked down at the wound on his chest that had been split open by my pressure and said through gritted teeth, "If Miss Su really has a mortal grudge against me, why not let her die quickly?" I cried while clutching my handkerchief, feeling extremely guilty. My benefactor, it really breaks my heart to say this. I really hope he gets better soon. Firstly, we at Yupingxian cannot afford to offend a place like Wanjian Villa. Secondly, with Gu Huai's skills, who could hurt him? We at Yupingxian cannot afford to offend him. Unfortunately, the incident became too big a deal, and the entire Qingzhou city knew that it was our Su family who settled Gu Chongfeng. If his enemies came to look for him, they would find out by just asking around. People in the martial arts world are no different from others. Once they start to attack, they will wipe out an entire family. It's not a joke. I wish he would leave soon, otherwise, I wouldn't have taken care of his injuries personally. He was unconscious, and I was humming a tune and picking vegetables beside him. He woke up and drank white porridge, and I quietly ate my pork elbow with sauce. But Gu Chongfeng has a lot of things to do. He frowned, looked at me coldly, and asked word by word, "Miss Su, are you polite?" I laughed and took out a bowl from the lunchbox. Today is different. Today it's not plain porridge. The doctor said you can eat something else. What is it? I opened the lid, and a sweet fragrance rose up and filled the air like a cloud. This is a bowl of date paste porridge. Date paste porridge, date paste porridge. Remove the core of the jujube, dry it, grind it into powder, add osmanthus and tangerine peel, and simmer over low heat. When my mother was still alive, she loved to make this bowl of date paste porridge the most. Later, my father opened a restaurant and served a bowl of sweet porridge to each table, which was used to fill the stomach before drinking. Since ancient times, some restaurants have mixed water into the wine, some have put old wine in new bottles, and some have sold good wine at high prices. All of the above are done in the hope that the customers will drink more and make more money. Yupingxian, however, did the opposite and served a bowl of ordinary porridge, urging the guests to drink less, as someone at home was eagerly waiting. My mother used this bowl of porridge to accompany my father to start his business, in exchange for my father's life's fulfillment. Later, when this bowl of porridge came to me, Shin Xian said that I had no ambition. But I still like to stew it. This is the taste of my mother. Gu Chongfeng had been swallowing dry porridge for several days, and finally, he tasted something sweet. His mood finally improved a bit, and he was willing to talk to me a few more words. He asked me, "What song are you humming?" I said, "Mu Guiying is in charge." He nodded. "No wonder it's so sonorous." He asked again, "Is it not possible to hum?" I said, "If you don't hum, choosing vegetables will be so boring." Gu Chongfeng said softly, "There is an acupuncture point on the human body. If you press it lightly, you will become mute. Please sit closer." I said, "My throat just hurts a bit, so I won't hum anymore. I'll go find some Sterculia lignifera to soak in water and drink." I sat down, picked up the bean's stick and broke it hard. "Hey, Gugo, this is your dog head. 05. Recovering from an injury is extremely boring. At least, that's what I think. I eat and sleep in bed every day, and I have to turn the soybeans over even when drying them." I said to Gu Chongfeng, "You can't do this, you have to find something to do. How about you help me pick beans?" Gu Chongfeng looked like he was saying, "Do you want to listen to what you're saying?" I said, "Yupingxian doesn't support idle people. If you pick beans, you will have beans to eat in the evening. If you pick leeks, you will have leeks scrambled eggs to eat in the evening." Gu Chongfeng touched his sword and said, "I think Miss Su has lived too long." I moved the chair out of his reach. "In the evening, drink white porridge. The next morning, drink white porridge. The next night, drink white porridge." On the morning of the third day, Gu Chongfeng handed me his hand. "Where are the beans?" So from then on, I had a partner in picking vegetables. I chat with him every day. I said, "Mr. Wang from the north of the city has already married his 13th concubine. Men really become bad when they have money." Gu Chongfeng said, Master Zhang of the Iron Palm Gang was poisoned to death by his mistress a few days ago. It can be seen that women's hearts are the most poisonous. I said, the guy standing at the gate of the government office shouting mighty, his family gave birth to a litter of piglets today. Gu Chongfeng said, if you want to learn martial arts, you can first find half a pig's back and hang it up to practice with the sword. I was lost in thought. Gu Chongfeng asked sinisterly, is Miss Su afraid? I said, I regret it. I only knew to use a big basin to collect the pig's blood. Otherwise, I would have killed all the unfaithful men in the world. Gu Chongfeng was silent for a while, and then praised me as a heroine. I clasped my fists and smiled. Thank you, thank you. After the bean sprouts in the field were harvested, I took advantage of the fine weather and hired 2 horse-drawn carriages to take us to the suburbs. It's not Gu Chongfeng who needs an outing, it's me who needs one. I've been taking care of him at home for a long time, and I can almost count all the bricks in the house. It was a sunny day on the outskirts of the city, and the grass was full of bright yellow flowers. Nice wind, nice scenery, and I met an acquaintance, the old lady from the Wang family. I asked my mother-in-law where she was going. The mother-in-law sat on the ox cart and said she was going to the capital to see her daughter, who had married far away. The ox cart was creaking, and I was afraid that the old man would be injured, so I couldn't help but ask a few more questions. I asked my mother-in-law, will you return to Qingzhou after seeing this? The mother-in-law said, of course I have to go back. I can't just stay at my son-in-law's house for free. But I'm old, and I see him less and less. I asked, have you ever thought about finding a job in the capital? It would relieve your longing for me. My mother-in-law said, I am too old to find anyone. I can't even wash clothes better than others. I thought about it and said, Meow Meow will teach you how to make jujube paste porridge. You can use the money for the return trip to set up a stall at the city gate. It's not acceptable for the mother-in-law to say it directly. Yupingxian's date paste porridge is very famous, and everyone in Qingzhou City knows it. I laughed. It's just a bowl of porridge, what's wrong with that? So he gave him the secret recipe carefully. After my mother-in-law left, Gu Chongfeng glanced at me, with his eyes slanted. Aren't you afraid that your father will beat you? I bit the grass roots and lay happily on the bright yellow flowers. My daddy can't bear to hit his darling little baby. Even if you tell others the secret recipe of Yupingxian? It's just a bowl of porridge. In addition to the jujube paste porridge, we also have roast goose, lotus leaf chicken, roast suckling pig, and pineapple rice. Most of them are signature dishes. Yupingxian can't go wrong. The grass roots tasted sweet. I bit them gently with my teeth and looked up at the clouds in the sky. That Granny Wang couldn't give birth to a son, so she was divorced by her husband's family. She picked up a girl, raised her by embroidery, and married her off to the capital. Granny Wang is old, and embroidery has damaged her eyes. If I don't teach her how to cook and sell porridge, how will she make a living in the capital? Not everyone can be like me, returning home after a long separation and still having my father to support me. I'm just luckier. When we talk about these things, the topic is always heavy. Even the clouds in the sky turned heavy and white. I sighed, got up from the ground, and said, Go home. He went home right after coming out, and it was rare for Gu Chongfeng not to have a gloomy face. Even plucked a piece of grass hanging from my head. It was a sunny day, and I checked the weather carefully before going out. Unfortunately, I forgot to check the almanac. A group of men in black appeared out of nowhere and surrounded us. Each of them held a long sword, shining with a cold light. Looking at Gu Chongfeng again, he was unarmed, his injuries had not yet healed, and he had nothing but clean hands. I looked left and right, endured the pain, pulled out a hairpin from my head, and handed it to him. I said, Gu Chongfeng, please don't die. He said, yes. As the fight was about to begin, I held Gu Chongfeng's hand, feeling reluctant. There is one more thing. Let me finish. Gu Chongfeng's voice was surprisingly gentle. He asked, what is it? I said, the gold hairpin is soft. Please don't deform it. I will wash it and wear it again. Gu Chongfeng pushed me away with a dark face. I found a big rock nearby, squatted behind it, and waited for Gu Chongfeng obediently. If any man in black is knocked out, I will hit his feet with a big stone. The leader of the men in black noticed something was wrong, and he moved to my side, put the knife on my neck, and told Gu Chongfeng to stop. Gu Chongfeng stopped and stood 3 steps away from me, seeming to be making a decision. As the saying goes, my destiny is in my own hands. You have to take your destiny into your own hands. I whispered to the leader of the men in black, there is one thing that the warrior probably doesn't know. What's up? My family used to be a butcher. What does it have to do with me if you kill a pig? He didn't finish his words, because I moved the knife on my neck horizontally, and the sharp tip of the knife stabbed into his arm. He probably didn't expect that a weak girl like me could have such great strength. I took the opportunity to run to Gu Chongfeng. Gu Chongfeng also looked surprised. I spat hard on the ground. Your aunt has been helping the family slaughter pigs since she was 7 years old. Who do you think you are? You have seen more human blood than I have seen pig blood. Don't you even know your own weight? Gu Chongfeng remained silent and bowed to me. I have offended you in the past. Thank you for not killing me. I bowed and said, Sir, what are you talking about? I am a girl in the boudoir. How can I know anything about fighting and killing? When Gu Chongfeng's wounds began to scab over, I pushed his wheelchair and prepared to take him out for some fresh air. It was unfortunate that I went there, because he was changing the dressing. The plain white shirt was half undone, revealing a large area of muscular chest. I held my chin in my hand, stunned. Hiss, it's so big. Gu Chongfeng glanced at me coldly. I smiled awkwardly. The wheelchair, please sit down, benefactor. I guess it's because I haven't seen a man for a long time. I've been married, so of course I've had sex. As the saying goes, once you have tasted the marrow, you will know its taste. But it is true that I have not tasted this marrow for 4 or 5 years, and I immediately felt a little itchy. As I was thinking this, I felt something under my hand and found that the wheelchair was stuck with a stone. I squatted down to move the stones away, but my squatting position was not good, and Gu Chongfeng's face was enlarged right in front of me. I coughed. Mr. Gu, your injury has healed now, so you must be leaving. What should I do if you leave? Others are always coveting my family property. Qingzhou has saved your life to some extent. So what? I've heard that people in Jianghu are always free and easy. Your appearance is like a dragon and a phoenix, so you must be the free and easy one among the free and easy ones. So, can I borrow your help? If I give birth to a child, Qingzhou will have a successor, and the dilemma can be solved. Don't worry, the Su family is rich and can afford to raise a child. We will never bother you in the future. Gu Chongfeng did not comment and even praised me for my thoughtful thinking. Seeing that he didn't object, I thought there might be a chance, so I continued, It's just. Gu Chongfeng actually smiled warmly. He leaned down slightly. Oh, there's a but in it. What is it? It's just, the doctor checked my pulse and said that Miao Miao has a difficult physique to get pregnant. Of course, Master Gu must be very brave, so 3 or 5 times at most should be enough. 3 or 5 times. Miss Su, I am a wounded soldier who has just recovered from a serious illness. How can you bear to do this? Shall I kill a big rooster for you to replenish your body? Okay, great, go ahead and kill him. Gu Chongfeng nodded, patted the wheelchair, stood up, and walked away leisurely. You can walk. Why do you want me to push you? I pushed my heavy wheelchair to chase after him. Gu Chongfeng looked back at me, the dark green silk ribbon tying her hair fluttering in the wind. He pointed at his chest, then pointed at me in the air and said, Remember to eat the chicken brains for nourishment. It suddenly dawned on me that his injury wasn't in his leg. After taking 2 more steps, the wheelchair suddenly broke into pieces and turned into powder. I was pushing my wheelchair forward when I fell down. I fell to the ground and tried to scream in pain, but my mouth opened and closed, but I couldn't utter a word. When did he press my mute point? Gu Chongfeng squatted down calmly, took out a small dagger from somewhere, and gently put it against my face. Miss Su's tongue will go really well with a big cock. I was so scared that I cried, and my tears fell in big drops. This time I really cried. Gu Changfeng was stunned for a moment and touched my neck lightly. I finally managed to speak, crying out loud. Gu Huai, you are such a stingy person. Gu Changfeng had a dark face and pressed my mute point hard again. 06. Gu Changfeng finds me annoying. There is a small vegetable stall under the restaurant. The owner of the stall is an aunt named Sunday. She sprained her ankle, so her son took over the stall. Her son is gentle and fair-skinned and is actually a scholar, like Shen Xian. Hey, how can a person capsize in the gutter again? But I have a kind heart like a bodhisattva, and I cannot bear to see scholars suffer. If the boat capsizes, it capsizes. The entire Qingzhou city knows that I like Gu Changfeng, so I have no choice but to cover my face, put on a curtain, and find ways to say a few more words to Master Sun. I buy groceries in the morning, pick them in the afternoon, and cook in the evening. Tired out of his face flushed. Gu Changfeng was picking at the dishes in the meal, his face clearly showing his unhappiness. He asked me, "Why do you eat bean sticks every day?" I also want to ask Mr. Sun, why do you sell bean sprouts every day? Do you only grow one kind of vegetable in your vegetable garden? When the words came to my lips, I hesitated and said, "Sir, these beans are fresh, so I'll weigh 2 more taels." I thought I had hidden it from everyone, but unexpectedly Gu Changfeng found out. He crushed one of my glass cups into pieces. "You buy his vegetables, so just buy them. Why do you ask me to help you pick vegetables every day?" I pressed the corners of my eyes with a handkerchief, feeling aggrieved. 2 taels on the left and another 2 taels. I really can't pick them all by myself. Gu Changfeng coughed up a mouthful of blood. I thought the matter was over, but I didn't expect that Gu Changfeng, a dignified martial artist, was actually not upright.
He told my father about me.
My father chased me all over the yard, and Gu Changfeng just stood nearby watching, looking like a mean guy. I told you long ago that most loyal people are butchers, and most unfaithful people are scholars. You have forgotten all the Su family mottos. Gu Changfeng echoed coldly beside him. That's right. We at Yupingxian sell vegetables. We have our own farm to grow vegetables. Yet you go out and buy them. You are a traitor to us. Gu Changfeng said righteously, "Meow meow, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but how could you hurt your uncle's heart like this?" I ran, cursing in my heart. "Gu Changfeng, you bastard." I was chased up a tree. My father stomped his feet under the tree and rolled up the leaves with his whip. I held on to the branches tightly and would rather die than let go. Gu Changfeng handed over a cup of tea and smiled flatteringly. "Old man, drink some water and calm down." My father finished his tea, put the tea bowl down, turned to Gu Changfeng and said, "And you, Gu Changfeng, your injuries have healed. Why aren't you leaving yet?" Gu Changfeng said, "My injury has not healed." Dad snorted coldly. "When I was young, I also traveled all over the country and went to the martial arts world. How can a martial artist be so delicate? Even if the wound has scabbed over, you still want to wait for my Su family to take care of you until the end of your life?" I clapped my hands and laughed in the tree. "Gu Changfeng, have you ever heard of retribution in this life?" Gu Changfeng turned a deaf ear. He threw off his robe and lay down neatly. Dad was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. "What do you mean?
Are you trying to blackmail me?"
Gu Changfeng covered his chest and said, "To be honest, my external injuries have healed, but my internal injuries haven't. I get sick from time to time." Dad meant something. Meow Meow has a hard life, taking care of a sickly child every day. It's better for her to go out more often to buy groceries for Mr. Sunday. It's better than being a widow in the future. Gu Changfeng stood up suddenly with a somersault, scaring his father. He said defensively, "Young man, what are you doing? Let me tell you, this old man has also been through many storms, so he is not afraid of you." Gu Changfeng said, "I am cured. Father." They went to the study, closed the door, and had a good talk. When he came out again, Gu Changfeng became the 3rd person in our Yupingxian thug team. The monthly salary is 1 cent. I asked again and again, but I heard it wrong. It was not 1 tael, but just 1 cent? A first-class delicacy, Even a fire-making maid can get 3 cents. Gu Chongfeng said aggrievedly. I heard it really. It is only 1 penny. Alas, I sigh deeply and wipe away my tears, mourning the hardships of people's lives. I said, then you should work harder and pay your wages carefully. Also, don't call me Meow Meow anymore. Remember to call me Miss in public or in private. I'm afraid others will misunderstand me. There are still rules to follow. 1 penny, with food and lodging provided, so I won't starve to death. Since I won't starve to death, I'll work until I die. Gu Chongfeng. His heart was broken. Where is the government office? I was going to beat the drum to appeal for justice, but I ran into a shady shop. I could hardly stand up straight because of laughing. Turn left after you get out of the door, and it's 2 blocks away. Bye-bye, young master. 07. When I went out, firecrackers were set off and soldiers cleared the road. The prefect led his subordinate officials and went 10 miles outside the city to meet the imperial envoy from the capital. The imperial envoy will assess the conduct of all officials on behalf of the emperor and clean up the bureaucracy. From Kyoto to the south, any officials with bad conduct along the way will be dismissed and investigated. But things like character cannot be weighed on a scale. It all depends on one word from the imperial envoy. Logically speaking, the welcoming banquet should be held in the largest restaurant in Qingzhou city. But everyone knows that when the imperial envoy was down and out, he once set up a stall downstairs of Yupingxian building to write letters to his family. This is a difficult matter. Finally, the prefect's wife cooked the meal herself and treated the imperial envoy to a simple and honest family dinner. The firecrackers are too loud, and the smoke is too choking. I quietly picked 2 baskets of spinach. Gu Chongfeng asked, Why don't you speak today? I said, I am usually such a quiet and well-behaved woman. Gu Chongfeng praised, What a quiet and well-behaved child. My father was also in a bad mood, so he brought some wine and food and ate with me. Dad said, We had planned that Yupingxian would not do business with Xinxian and would rather give it to a dog than to him. Luckily, he knew what was good for him and didn't come, otherwise the dog would have bitten him. I asked, Where did Yupingxian get the dog? Dad snorted coldly, asked to buy it, and picked the one with the most aggressive temper. I took out a small porcelain bottle from my bosom and said, Don't bother Ada. My daughter has already bought arsenic. We can't poison him to death. Dad widened his eyes and then gave me a thumbs up. My father still had things to do, so after dinner he was called away by the housekeeper. I drank the last bit of the shadozi, picked up another food box, and staggered to see Gu Chongfeng. I didn't want to talk, and Gu Chongfeng ate very quietly. When I collected the dishes, I saw that he had only eaten a little. Naturally, what my father brought were all good wine and delicious food. I couldn't help but ask, Why do you only eat this? Forget about the other things. Just this silken tofu. Even Yupingxian doesn't make it every day. I think it was made by Brother Chen today because my father went there in person. Hey, within 100 miles, you won't find anyone with such good knife skills as Brother Chen. Gu Chongfeng narrowed his eyes slightly. Brother Chen? I've been hanging out in restaurants since I was young, and I consider myself good at cooking, but when it comes to Brother Chen, I am convinced. Such a great man is a disciple of Yupingxian. Thinking of this, I can't help but feel a little proud. Brother Chen is the chef of our Yupingxian. He can slice the food as fast as hair, and his skills are perfect. He is the person I admire most in my life. Yeah. When I mention Brother Chen, a little light finally appears in my eyes. My elder brother Chen can also carve lifelike watermelon flowers. Not only watermelons, but also radishes and cabbages. He can carve everything. He also pressed my mute point. Gu Chongfeng stood in front of the table with his hands behind his back, his eyes cold, and uttered 2 words. Noisy. Me. Gu Chongfeng. It's no use begging me. When the time comes, it will be solved naturally. Me. Gu Chongfeng smiled gently, which was surprisingly affectionate. Meow meow, young lady, you can't say bad words. My drunkenness was completely gone. I glared at him hatefully and stomped away. When Xian comes to Qingzhou, he will have to stay for 3 to 5 days, so he naturally cannot have family dinners at the prefect's mansion every day. Of course, there is food to be had in the government office, but the officialdom— After all, the imperial envoy is here to conduct an assessment. I heard that the prefect has booked a small cottage by the lake. The environment is quiet, and the chef is one of the best in the area. But I don't know how it happened, but at dusk, someone came to report that Xian had arrived. I asked, was the prefect accompanying him? The waiter said, it's just Mr. Shin himself. Dad was not in a good mood and waved his hand and said, tell Ada to kick him out. The guy looked embarrassed. How can we let others interfere in our mess? Besides, who is Xian now? Even the prefect has to be careful to serve him and apologize. If Ada chases him away, will he die? I advised my father that the people should not fight against the officials. Xian came and left, but we still have to live under the prefect's rule for a long time. I asked the waiter what dishes Xian ordered. The waiter said, Mr. Shin only ordered jujube paste porridge. Tell him that the jujube paste porridge is sold out, but we have all other dishes. If he insists on eating it, tell him to wait, and tell him that the jujube paste porridge must be freshly cooked and simmered over low heat. If Xian can wait, then let him wait slowly, and treat him with good wine and tea, and don't worry about other things. Dad asked, what is the recipe for the jujube paste porridge? I lowered my eyes and slowly smoothed out the wrinkles on my sleeves. There is no rule. It's just that you stay on the high platform and I stay in the spring mountain, and we will never see each other again. I speak freely and easily, but my father cannot. The old man was indignant and said that since Xian dared to come, he would make sure he never came back. He held out his hand to me for the bottle of arsenic. Seeing that the old man was so angry that his beard was about to fly up, I couldn't help laughing, took the porcelain bottle out of my arms, and told him to do it cleanly. Dad waved his hand. Don't worry, we are a family of butchers, so it's easy for us to kill a heartless man. My father's departing back looked fierce and angry, like a puffer fish. I grabbed a handful of melon seeds and started to eat them. As I was knocking my head, I suddenly couldn't hold back my tears and started rolling down. I just divorced Xian, and this is the first time I cry. The last time was the day when Li Muyao was welcomed into the family and made his second wife. This pair of ill-fated lovers, when fate separated them, the Shin family was in decline, while the Li family was prosperous. When fate reunited them, Xian was at the peak of his career, while the Li family was in decline. I heard that Li Muyao didn't have a good life during the years they were separated. She got married 3 years after he left. She married well and had a glorious marriage, which was beautiful at first. But later, as more and more women came into the backyard, life became difficult. She had children before, but she lost the first one due to her weak body, and the second one was caused by a difficult delivery, so only the adult was saved. Later, Xian went to Shangjing City and pulled her out of the quagmire of her husband's family. Li Muyao and Lily got along very smoothly. No one wanted to compete with Xian for a woman, especially a woman who was not favored in the harem. Li Muyao was considered a second married woman. When she entered the Shin family, no one in the capital dared to gossip about her. Instead, they said a lot of good things about Li Muyao. Say she is loyal and brave. The Shin family was exiled to Qingzhou, and she had been waiting for Xian to come back. If she had not dragged on for 3 years without getting married, she would have been able to marry better the first time. The day Li Muyao entered the Shin family was a rare sunny day in winter, before the new year, when the snow was not heavy. She had been well taken care of by Xian for a while, and when she entered the house, she was no longer the emaciated look she had been when Xian first met her when he returned to Beijing. She is very elegant and looks like a plum tree standing there. They looked at each other, and there was a smile in their eyes. Logically speaking, at this time, they have wasted many years and suffered a lot, and are no longer young. Everyone has changed, but time seemed to be especially kind to them. They stood together, with smiles in their eyes and brows. It was a rare opportunity in life to fulfill the dream of youth again. Nothing has changed in their hearts. The boy still rides his bamboo horse and plays with his green plum around the bed. From afar I heard the guests' toasts, saying that they only envied the mandarin ducks and not the immortals. I think I was mostly sad. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel the hot steam from the tea stinging your eyes. Li Muyao waited for him in Kyoto for 3 years. Missing someone is naturally extremely painful and gnawing at one's heart. But Songshan, I was washing rice and cooking in Songshan, and there wasn't even a bowl of clean water. But he made Xinxian fat and white. Why didn't anyone say I was a loyal hero? I thought belatedly. Although I didn't run away at that time, I cursed the heavens and the earth, which was not pleasant to hear. Damn it, I shouldn't have cursed if I had known. Otherwise, when people in the capital talk about Li Muyao, they might mention me. Say that I will never leave you, and I am loyal and righteous. I cried so loudly that Gu Chongfeng came. People who practice martial arts have good ears. He searched all over his body but couldn't find a towel. Finally, he squatted down and took out the clean lining from his sleeve to wipe my face. I asked him, "Is there any acupoint that I can press to stop crying?" Gu Chongfeng sighed and finally let me a shoulder to lean on. He said, "Cry." I said, "There is no arsenic at all. It's just a bottle of salt. At most, it will kill Xinxian." Gu Chongfeng touched my head and said, "It's just a waste of arsenic and salt. You probably haven't seen me use a sword yet. I'm no worse than your brother Qin." I asked, "Which trick is the best for killing people?" Gu Chongfeng chuckled. "Every move works." "Then show me how to do it." So Gu Chongfeng danced with sword under the moon. I started studying late, so my writing skills are not that good. But when he saw Gu Chongfeng holding the sword, he inexplicably recalled a poem that the female teacher had taught him. Peach blossoms seek the swordsman, smiling silently in the spring breeze. The young man's clothes fluttered as he stood up with his sword pointed at him. The dark green headband was now as bright as snow, wrapped around his body. Wherever the sword passes, a breeze blows. The cold light is like water, and the full moon has lost its brilliance. For some reason, I remembered what the princess said. After all, they are similar in appearance but not in spirit, and they are skin deep, not bones deep. It would be nice if Gulang was here. He is indeed here. With a hint of cold light, the sword lights are like weaving, and there is rustling bamboo rain. I was stunned and couldn't come back to my senses for a long time. After a long time, I finally found my voice. "Nice sword." The man turned around and smiled. "My sword is of course a good sword, but it lacks a tassel. It should be dark green, just right for my headband. I wonder if you can make one." Dark green sword-shaped tassel with a small mole under the eyelashes and on the palm. That person is the sweetheart of the eldest daughter of the Su family. The news spread so widely that the whole Qingzhou city knew about it. I quietly looked at the bright moonlight in his eyes, and for some reason, I started to smile too. What a coincidence. I happen to know how to do it. 08. I originally thought that Xinxian would have to stay for 3 to 5 days during this trip. Unexpectedly, in the evening of the next day, I heard the news that the imperial envoy had left. He came with great fanfare, and when he left, the prefect personally escorted him out of the city. I heard that several neighboring prefectures are not like Qingzhou City, where people only come for 2 days. In less than 2 days, what can be tested? All I can say is that the imperial envoy should have already taken into account the conduct of these officials, just going through the motions. The waiter said that all the dishes served last night were eaten up by Xinxian, except for the date paste porridge. He waited until closing time. I was silent for a long time after hearing this. I don't know what to say. Finally, he just said, "I understand. You don't need to tell me about his news anymore." I cried so hard that my eyes were swollen like walnuts. Fortunately, my family runs a restaurant, so there are plenty of eggs. After applying 5 eggs in turn, I put on makeup, changed my clothes, and happily went to the street to pick silk thread. I also have a promise, which is to make a dark green sword tassel. Gu Chongfeng followed me leisurely, with his ponytail tied high, a long sword hanging from his waist, and his cuffs tied tightly with silver wrist guards, looking full of youthful vibe. The girls on the street couldn't help but glance at him secretly. I thought to myself, what a close call. Luckily, I got the news out early on. This person is the lover of the eldest daughter of the Su family. Unfortunately, I underestimated his lethality. The third time a girl dropped her embroidered handkerchief in front of Gu Changfeng, I couldn't help it and picked it up first, saying arrogantly, "The lilac flowers on this handkerchief are really well embroidered, but it's a pity." Gu Changfeng leaned down slightly. The corner of his lips accidentally brushed the pearl pendant on my ear, and he took over the conversation very naturally. "It's a pity that this beautiful flower already has an owner." The girl's face turned red instantly, and she looked for an excuse and ran away like the wind. I stood there in a daze, and suddenly I felt a burning sensation behind my right ear. Gu Changfeng was calm and collected. He raised his hand to straighten the pearl pendant on my ear, looked far behind us, and said seriously, "If you don't put on a good show, how can others give up? Come to think of it, this makes sense." I rubbed my face and let him go. But I didn't expect that along the way, I was only thinking about guarding against girls, but forgot to guard against men. A drunk man rushed towards me, and Gu Changfeng quickly grabbed me into his arms. I sighed, put my hands behind my back and said, "Mr. Gu Huai, your life is getting better now, and I can even make a sword tassel for you myself. I don't know where your good luck comes from." Back then, all the handsome men in Qingzhou city lined up to ask to marry me. Not to mention other things, that drunkard just now also gave me 2 wild geese. Gu Changfeng smiled so much that his eyebrows and eyes were curved. He nodded, surprisingly agreeing. Life is indeed getting better now. There are even people making sword tassels for me. For some reason, my face started burning again. Gu Changfeng took me to buy gold hairpins and candy figurines. I was laughing and joking with him and glanced back inadvertently. I seemed to see a face in the crowd. Dressed in green, with a temperament as gentle as a pine tree, he looks like an immortal who has descended to earth, looking at me quietly in the dim light. In the blink of an eye, the man disappeared again. In the vast sea of people, I see only living beings. I was stunned for a moment, remembering that this person would have been escorted out of Qingzhou city with great respect if it hadn't been for the beating of drums and gongs. He couldn't be here anywhere. I probably saw it wrong. Gu Changfeng turned around and asked me what I was looking at. I said that the goldfish lanterns on the other side of the stone bridge were bright red and very pleasing to the eye. Gu Changfeng asked, "Do you like fish?" "I like it. When my father was a sailor, we used to sell fish." "In that case, there is a large lake in Jiangling, stretching for hundreds of miles. Deep in the lotus flowers, there are fish leaping like dragons. Would you like to go with me to take a look?" "Me? Okay."
No.
"What did you just say?" The lights were bright, and the crowd was bustling. Gu Changfeng held me tighter, lowered his head, and looked very serious. I just heard him speak word by word. Gu Changfeng of Wanjian Villa is seeking to marry Miao Miao, a daughter of the Su family in Qingzhou. I wonder if the eldest lady of the Su family is willing? I looked up and saw a firework explode above my head, turning into fireflies all over the sky. I asked with a smile, "Gu Changfeng, don't you think I'm noisy?" Gu Changfeng also smiled, with countless stars in his eyes. "What's the noise?" "That's called excitement." Extra. On this day, Sun Xian was summoned by the emperor. Now that the national treasury is empty, His Majesty intends to convert farmland into mulberry trees in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Sun Xian used to be the Suzhou weaving supervisor, and now he is an important official in the court. He is most familiar with the conditions in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Naturally, Sun Xian's opinion must be sought for such an important matter. Before Sun Xian went to court that day, he only drank a cup of tea. After the court was over, the emperor talked to him for a long time. When he finally got out of the red wall of the palace, Sun Xian felt hungry and a little dizzy. The attendant who was accompanying him asked him if he was going back home. Sun Xian casually lifted the car curtain and saw 2 food stalls on the roadside. It was past meal time, and there were only 2 people sitting there. Although the place was small, it was still clean. Sun Xian asked someone to buy some food, and bring it to the car. Since the master did not specify what to buy, the attendant estimated and bought some from both stalls. A basket of buns and a bowl of porridge.
They are all ordinary things.
Unexpectedly, after the things were handed in, a few breaths later, Shen Xian stumbled down from the carriage, ran to the porridge stall, looked around, and no one knew what he was looking for. The guards didn't understand what was going on, so they also rushed forward, swords drawn and guards standing by their sides. Shen Xian had just come out of the palace. He was still wearing a bright red official uniform, and his official hat was neatly worn on his head. The old woman selling porridge had never seen such a scene before. She knelt down on the ground trembling and said that she had never done anything illegal. Shen Xian closed his eyes. The stall is so small that you can see the whole thing at a glance.
Who can hide there?
What's more, he had already received news about the person he was looking for. Return to my hometown in Qingzhou. Shen Xian sighed, ordered his men to put away their swords, bent down, and helped the frightened old man up. Old man, you cooked this porridge very well. Seeing that he was kind, the porridge-selling old lady finally stopped shaking so much. She trembled slightly and answered the question with an estimated answer. To answer your question, my porridge is called jujube paste porridge, which is very famous in our Qingzhou city. If you like it, I will serve you another bowl. She said Qingzhou city.
I really didn't admit my mistake.
Shen Xian has been an official for many years and has long since stopped showing his emotions on his face. It is very rare for him to lose his composure, like he just did. But it returned to normal in a moment. He asked calmly, but is it Qingzhou Yipingxian? At this moment, Shen Xian was wearing his official uniform and was trying to be close to the old woman. After just a few words, he found out that the jujube paste porridge was indeed made by that man who taught the old woman how to make it. That person's name is Su Miao Miao. She is his first wife. The person Shen Xian likes is good at writing small characters with flower-shaped ornaments and is gentle, virtuous, and elegant. When she is in the mood, she will paint mountains and rivers with ink and chat while leaning against plum blossoms. The person Shen Xian married was a person who had been around in the world of mortals. She was careless, laughed, scolded, and dared to say any dirty words. She was very noisy. Do you think this is the cruelty of fate? Not really. The cruelty of fate was that he had been married to Su Miao Miao for 8 years and had unconsciously gotten used to the noise. When they finally agreed to become a couple, he just felt that the quietness was too uncomfortable. He and Su Miao Miao were from 2 different worlds. If the Shen family had not been punished, they would never have met each other in their lives. She pulled him down from the altar and kept nagging him in his ears day and night, asking him about his 3 meals a day and the trivial things. She ruined his elegant life and made him live a vulgar daily life with her. On the day of their separation, Shen Xian breathed in the quiet and free air after she left almost greedily, until the courtyard felt quiet. The silence was unaccustomed. The new mistress of the Shen family is his childhood sweetheart. Before she got married, she was an example of a noble lady from a Kyoto family. The rules in her family were very strict, and she made no sound when she walked, sat, or lay down. The 2 concubines in his house were born maids and were timid by nature. Now that they had a new mistress, they couldn't figure out her temper and dared not even say a word. When it was terribly quiet, Shen Xian couldn't help but think of Su Miao Miao. The person who talks a lot is dense, dull, and vulgar. People say that life in Songshan is hard, but sometimes when I think back, it's actually not that hard. There was good wine, good food, and a little bird chirping. Enduring the noise, the hard days passed by before I knew it. Su Miao Miao left decisively and took everything with her. The only thing he left behind was a bowl of jujube paste porridge that he had forgotten on the stove. He left in such a hurry that he probably forgot about it. When the cook went to check in the morning, it had already been boiled into a pot of charcoal. He has eaten thousands of bowls of date paste porridge in the 8 years since he got married. He didn't eat the last bowl of soup that Su Miao Miao left for her. The trip to Qingzhou was originally planned to be like that, to conduct open and secret investigations, to come in a high profile, to leave in a high profile, and then to make a surprise attack. He went out to investigate secretly at night and, unexpectedly, saw Su Miao Miao with a man. It goes without saying that the handsome man is probably Gu Chongfeng, the lover and savior of the eldest daughter of the Su family, as passed down by word of mouth among the people of Qingzhou. Shen Xian didn't know what he was thinking, but he followed him unconsciously. Shen Xian knew that Gu Chongfeng had discovered him. So, what if you find out? Gu Chongfeng wanted him to see that he and Su Miao Miao were living well. Then he'll take a good look. Just watching them laughing and playing. Shen Xian inexplicably recalled the time when Su Miao Miao loved him the most, standing in front of him and writing to him face to face. My dear husband, seeing your letter is like seeing you in person. I am happy to see your face. If that letter had been preserved till now, it would have turned yellow. It's been 8 years after all. They finally got to this point. We don't see each other when we pass by, and we don't recognize each other when we meet. You live in Spring Mountain, and I lie on a high platform. It was many years later that Shen Xian finally got to see Su Miao Miao. At that time, he was on a business trip to Jiangnan to see the results of converting farmland into mulberry trees. When he passed by Jiangling, he saw a Yupingxian restaurant opened in the city, which was very bustling. There was a porridge stall downstairs of the restaurant, and a group of young men with swords were maintaining order around it. They were from Wanjian Villa. He recognized the woman who was distributing porridge. After not seeing her for many years, her appearance has not changed, and she is even more lively and energetic than she was in the Shin family, with a pair of children around her. He walked in and stood in line. When it was his turn, a bowl of white porridge was handed to him. Shen Xian didn't answer. He suppressed the bitterness in his eyes and whispered, I want a bowl of jujube paste porridge. The person opposite was stunned for a moment, then saw that it was him, and was also stunned for a moment. When he came to his senses, he smiled and told him, Jiangling doesn't produce jujubes, and I haven't cooked them for many years. I have completely forgotten how to cook them. Life is pretty much like this. Reading makes the tea smell disappear. At that time, I thought it was normal. End of full text.